The Torah tells us in Parashat Nitzavim, in Perek Chaf Tes, chapter 29, the last pasuk, which is Chaf Ches 28, Hanistaros LaHashem Elokeinu, the hidden sins are for Hashem, V'niglos lanu u'vanenu, but the revealed sins are for us and for our children, Ad olam, forever. V'asos is called Divrei HaTorah Hazos, to carry out the words of the Torah. So what does this pasuk mean? The hidden sins are for Hashem, and the revealed sins are for us. And if you have a good chumash, or any chumash, on the words Lanu Uvanenu, there's these funny dots on top. It's not a printing mistake, it belongs there. So what does this pasuk mean, and what are these dots here? So to understand this, we have to go to a Gemara in Sanhedrin. Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Mem Gimel Amid Beis 43b. The incident, the Gemara is talking about the incident with Achan. That Achan, the Mishnah gives an example of someone, a prisoner, Achan, who confessed his sins before being executed. And now they want to discuss exactly what happened exactly before, after. So, Tana Rabbanan. Na, Eina el Lashem Bakasha. What's the word na? So we know the word na, it always, please do me a favor. When God told Joshua, Chata Yisrael, the Jewish people have sinned. Amalafanav, Yoshua said to God, Ribona Sha'ola mi chata. Don't tell me someone sinned, tell me who sinned. I need names. Amalei, God said, what do I look like? What do I look like, a tattletale? You think I'm going to give you names? Rechilas, Lashon Hara. He says, go cast lots. Halach v'hipol goros. He went and he casted lots. V'nafal goro Achan, and the lottery fell on Achan. So Amalo. So when Achan saw that the pick was him, he said, Yoshua, are you kidding me? Begoro taboili, you're trying to prove that I did it based on the goro? Let's say the Elazar HaKohen, Shnei Gedolei Adoratem, you and Elazar HaKohen are the Gedolim. Imani Mapel Aleichem Gorel, if I was going to cast lots on the two of you, Al Echad Mikem, of course, if you do lots, it's going to come out on someone. So basically, he didn't like the proof of the lottery, Achan. So Yeshua realized he had a good point. Amalo. So you're right, do me a favor. B'vakasha mimcha, please. Al totzi laz al hagorolos. Don't be motzi laz. Don't put a bad name on the goro, on the lots. Shasida Eretz Yisrael shetischalik belong. And in the future, the land of Israel will be divided through the goro. As it says, Ach bagor yechelok ezaretz. So now the Gemara goes into the detail of what exactly Achan's admittance was. So Amar Ravina says, Shachude shachte v'mile. Yoshua really tricked Achan with words. Why? Because he was saying to Achan, Chum nevakesh v'mchel, the implied, the only thing I want from you is to admit. Tein lo toda lipatya. Give me a confession and you'll be exempt. Miyad at once, Achan said, Vayan Achan Yoshua vayomar. He said, in truth, I have sinned against Hashem, the kazos, he said, I have done this and this and this. The Gemara is that warrants he did other things before that. Either he violated Shlosha Charamim, twice during Moshe, once Yoshua, etc. Or some say 5 times, 4 during Moshe, once during Yoshua. So either way, he confessed. So he got Achan to confess to their crime. And that's why, because So, v'chihashta by time ago understand. So, we're saying the Jewish people were getting punished because we found out that Achan sinned and were responsible for other people. But now that we're finding out that Achan sinned a long time ago, he violated different bans during the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, why weren't the Jewish people punished before? I understand why they're punished now, because based on the pasuk, we'll see that they get punished, this communal responsibility, even on the private sin. So therefore, but now that we're finding out that that Yoshua sinned, that Achan sinned before, so why not have a punishment at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yochanan Mishimar Lezer Rav Shimon Lefi Shelo Anosh Al Nestaras Ad Sha'avru Yisrael Es HaYarden. Because God did not punish the entire people, the Jewish people, for private sins of an individual until the Jewish people crossed over the Yarden. So when the Jews crossed over the Yarden into Eretz Yisrael, they took on a higher level responsibility, and that's why, even though Achan sinned Bizman Moshe, but they were in the Midbar then, it wasn't until Yeshua took them into the land of Israel that they bore a higher level of responsibility. So that's the Gemara. So the Gemara, we see from this opinion, seems that they weren't punished for the private sins of an individual until you were punished for your own private sins, but you weren't punished for the private sins of someone else until they entered the land of Israel. However, we'll see this point is a kanai. It's a katanai, it's a machlokas tanaim. It's a dispute. Why? Because the Gemara goes on and says, to quote the pasuk, Hanistaros lanu le'elkeinu, the hidden things are for God, the revealed things are for us. So lama nakud al lanu le'vaninu. Why, the Gemara asks, why do you have those funny dots on top of these words? Malamed, so Gemara comes to teach me, Shalo'anosh al anastaras ad sha'avru Yisrael es hayarden. It comes to teach me the Jewish people did not become punished for the private sins of an individual until they crossed over the Yarden. That's the words of Rabbi Yehuda. But not everyone agrees with Rabbi Yehuda. Amalor Rav Nechemia. Rav Nechemia says, V'chi anosh al nestaras liolam. But did God ever punish the Jewish people on the individual hidden sins? How am I supposed to know if someone else sinned? It's hard enough to know when you do your own sin. I'm going to figure out someone else's sin. But it says ad olam. It says, the pasuk says forever. That it would escape punishment forever. So Ella, Rav Nechemia says, Kashem shel anish al nestaros, kach anish al onish shabagad. They weren't punished at all. Before the cross the Yarden, God did not punish the Jewish people for the individual's hidden sin, nor did he not punish the Jewish people for Achan's for the people's open sin. So once the Jewish people crossed the Yarden, so according to Rabbi Nechemia, were never punished for a private sin. So the Gemara asks, Achan. So Achan was a private sin, so how come we got punished when the Jewish people entered the land of Israel? Many Jews were killed. The Gemara answers, because Achan's wife and kids knew, and therefore the Gemara says that's considered a revealed sin and not a private sin. So it comes out, it's a machlokes tanam in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says, everyone agrees you have a higher level responsibility once the Jewish people cross the Yarden. The question is, what was it before and what was it after? So, therefore, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, that they got punished for the revealed sins before they crossed the Yarden, but the hidden sins of someone else, they didn't become responsible until they entered Eretz Yisrael. And Rabbi Nechemia says, no, they never or responsible for hidden sin to someone else? How am I supposed to know? No, that was a public sin. So that's what the Nehemiah writes. The Jewish people aren't punished as a whole on any private sin. If there's a public sin and then Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh, all Jews are responsible for one another, then we assume it's our responsibility to try to stop it. So that's the Gemara in Sanhedrin, this pasuk on this Nistaros on Obanina. So what do we see from this Gemara? Whichever explanation you want to say is we see when the Jewish people entered Eretz Yisrael, they took on a higher responsibility as a nation. When they got together at Har Ebal, Har Grizim, as Rav Sajagon learns out, it's a mitzvah l'doros of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh. Always the way some learn Rav Sajagon, he counts the brachas and kolas as one of the mitzvahs, and Rav Frisho Parala points out that it must be the mitzvah of all Jews are responsible for one another. And this principle isn't just true in a negative sense, that we see we're responsible for other Jewish people. The machlokas in the Gemara is how far it goes, even on hidden sins or public sins. But this is also not limited to negative commandments, but it's positive commandments. In fact, we do it every week. Usually, depending where you are, usually the head of the household makes kiddush for the whole table. How could I make kiddush for someone else? And in fact, let's say I already made kiddush, and now I go to a place and someone needs me to make kiddush. So based on Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh, every Jew is responsible for one another. My mitzvah of kiddush isn't complete until every Jew also hears kiddush. Or we're during Elul and Rosh Hashanah time, so too by shofar. If I was about to Kei, I blew the shofar and I made the brachas 100 times, and there's another shul in town who needs someone to blow shofar, I can blow shofar for everyone else, even with the brachas, even with the blessings, because Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh. All Jews are responsible for one another, and therefore my mitzvah of shofar isn't complete until everyone else hears the shofar as well. And in fact, we see this idea that the Avnei Nezer discuss it, that the communal responsibility began on the Eiver HaYarden when we entered Eretz Yisrael. There's a famous Maharal that points out on the juxtaposition of the prohibition not to take ribbis. It says, and it connects it to Eretz Yisrael. It connects the juxtaposition of the psukim, of the verses, seems to connect Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, with the prohibition of ribbis. And we know it's not a mitzvah limited, it's not like Truma, Maisa, or Shemitah, it applies all the time. So the Maharal explains, because when you lend somebody money, that shows brotherly love. It shows you care about someone, you want to help someone out. Someone who takes interest in someone or taking advantage of someone, obviously they need the money, times are down, and you're going ahead and taking advantage of the situation. So therefore, a loan is brotherly love, taking ribbis is the opposite. So therefore, when the Jews entered Eretz Yisrael, it's the same, that was the concept of brotherly love, that when the Jewish people, so the ribbis is connecting to Eretz Yisrael, because Eretz Yisrael is when we all became one big happy family. So therefore, you shouldn't take ribbis, because ribbis is when you're not one family. You want to take advantage of the situation of someone's needs. And that's the juxtaposition, that when we come when we enter Eretz Yisrael, that's when we can't take ribbis. And in fact, we see the power of the tzibor, of Chayza being together. That was the power of Har Sinai. Vayichan Sham Har Geneged Har, Ish Echad B'Lev Echad. Chazal tell us that the Jewish people were one happy family. Rashi's not just a reporter on the scene telling me coincidentally that's the way it was. For the Jewish people to accept the Torah at Har Sinai, Achdus, togetherness, was a prerequisite for Har Sinai. And in fact, it's a famous Or HaChayim HaKodesh. It's a famous question we've asked in the past, and the Mefarshim ask is, there's a fundamental difference between the two Tochachas. We read the portion of rebuke twice, once in Parshas Bechukos at the end of Vayikra, and one we just read last week, Parshas Kisavo. So, the Torah points out that if you look at the end of Bechukosai, it talks about Bris Avos. Don't worry about it. At the end, we'll remember Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But at the end of the Tocha this week, Parshas Kisavo, ends very abruptly that you're going to be sold as slaves, you're going to look for buyers, no one's going to want you, etc. No hope at the end. So what's the difference, the Mefarshim asks? Why does Parshas Bechukosai end with hope, but Parshas Kisavo doesn't end with hope? So again, to the Orach Hayim tells us, reiterates our Yesod here, that the difference is Bechukosai is written Lashon Rabim in the plural, in Bechukosai Telechu, and Parshas Kisavo is written in Lashon Yachid. And the Orach Hayim is coming to teach me, if a person is judged on their own, they view themselves as an individual, not part of the tzibor, then watch out, you're in trouble, unless you're some Tzaddik Gamor. But when you judge among the Rabbim, Bechukosai is in the Rabbim, when you view yourself as part of the tzibor, as part of Klal Yisrael, then you're going to be judged as part of the tzibor, and therefore God's going to have a lot more rachmanis, will judge you a lot more lenient. Klal Yisrael reim zelazeh. When you view yourself as all part of one, so then you're going to have a much better din. And in fact, that's why the parasha again, Nitzavim Hayom Kucham, you're all standing in front of us today. What's today? So the famous Zohar Hayom is Rosh Hashanah. It's Bo Bayom. That's the day. It's the day we're being judged. In fact, it's a famous story in Nach with Elisha and the Isha Shinamis, that she did everything for him, and he wanted to pay back the Tova. So he said, "What can I do for you? You have some parking tickets, some speeding tickets, you need some food, you need something, tell me, what can I do? Let me speak to the king for you." And of course he didn't mean the king of Melech Basar Adam, he meant the king Melech Malchei Mlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the God in heaven. And she said, you know what, the only thing I want is B'soch Ami Anochi Yoshevet. All I want, it was Rosh Hashanah also, the pasuk says Hayom, and the Zohar learns out that also this happened on Rosh Hashanah. And when Elisha said, I could speak to the king for you, it was Rosh Hashanah, and therefore all she says is, B'soch Ami Anochi. All I want is to be judged among the people. If I'm judged among the people, then I'll be fine. And we see the Koach HaTzibor being part of a Tzibor, you still have hope, and we have Bris Avos, we have the Schus Avos we can rely on. But if you want to act as an individual, your Hotias Atzvum and Aklal, then you can have a problem. This to conclude with a story on the power of the Rabbim, on the power of the individual. There was a story they say over, this person was in a university class, and 400 or 500 kids in the class, and they went throughout the year and went into class, he missed some classes. At the end they had a big final, so the teacher said, I guess they're very strict there. It tests is from 9 to 12. 12 o'clock you must have the papers in. 12:01 I'm not going to accept it. 12 and 1 second. So everyone's doing the test. This person's taking a long time. It's getting late, 11:30, 11:45, 11:59, 12. And then at 12:01 the guy wants to go in and there's a pile of 500 papers there. He wants to give in his paper. So the teacher said, sorry, I told you 12 o'clock, that's it. It's 12:01, I'm not taking your paper. So the guy says, do you know who I am? Do you know my name? Like, know who you're talking to? He says, no. I have no idea who I'm talking to. Great. That's what I wanted to hear. He took the test paper and he mixed it in with the 500 papers, and he got his grades. And obviously the lesson is obvious. To be judged alone, he never would have got his test paper in. But to be judged among the Rabbim, then he was able to get. And that's the yesod of Hadigos Lano Vaneno, that when Klal Yisrael entered Eretz Yisrael, we took on a higher level of responsibility, communal responsibility. All Jews are responsible for one another, not only in the negative sense, but in the positive sense as well. That I can make Kiddush many times, I can blow shofar many times. And that's the connection between Ribbis and Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael shows our community, our brotherly love. Ribbis means the opposite. You're not my brother, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to charge you 20% interest, etc. So therefore remember, when the prohibition of Ribbis is juxtaposition next to Eretz Yisrael. And the famous Orach Chaim HaKadosh, that what is Ki B'chukosai, end with hope, and not Ki Savo, because Ki Savo is Lashon Yochid. If you judge as an individual, there'll be no hope for you if you're not Zocha B'din. But if you be judged as a Rabbim, that's a whole different story. And that's what Elisha, with the Isha Shunam is, B'soch Ami Anochi Yoshev. That's all I want, is to be judged among the people. And we'll see that's the whole concept of shofar, that by shofar we don't say Shomea Ka'oneh. We don't use the principle like by Kiddush, that one person makes Kiddush, everyone listens, it's like everyone's talking. When it comes to shofar, everyone does the mitzvah themselves. The mitzvah is Shemiah, hearing. We're all doing the mitzvah ourselves because we want everyone to be equal. We want everyone to be treated the same. And in fact, to conclude, that's the famous saying of a Yisrael Salanter, when he said you want to, and Rapam used to always say, to be Zocha B'din, you should make sure you're part of the Tzibor. And as Rabbi Yisrael Salanter used to always say, make sure you're a Yachid, Shaharabim Tolibo. Make sure you're an individual who the Tzibor needs. Take communal responsibility during this time. Because even though you might not be Zoch on your own, but as if you're part of the community, you get the merits of the Tzibor as well. The Torah tells us in Parshas Nitzavim, in Perek Chavtes, I believe, actually, Perek Lamed, it says, Pasuk Gid Aleph, Ki ha-mitzvah hazos, this mitzvah, Shanochi mitzavcha hayom, that I command you today, Lo neflesi mimcha, it's not hidden, Lo rechokihi, it's not far away, Lo b'ashamayimi, it's not up in the heavens, where a person will have to say, Mi yale lanu hashamayma, we have to go up into heavens and keep it, Lo me'evu hayam, it's not across the river, Ki karov alecha hadava miod, it's very close, Beficha ubuvavcha la'asoso, with your mouth and with your heart you shall do. So, ki ha-mitzvah hazos, which mitzvah are we talking about? So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Erevin, Daf Nun Hey, so I believe, that we're talking about the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, or the mitzvah of the Torah. We're talking about the Torah in general, or the mitzvah of learning. The mitzvah is for everybody. Don't say I have to have a PhD, I have to have smicha, rabbinic ordination, but the Vilna Gaon can learn Sefer Bereshis, Parshas Bereshis, and so could a 4-year-old child, or maybe an 8-year-old child, or whoever. But the point being is, we're all equal, and therefore the mitzvah is for everybody. And it's not by Shamayim, you don't have to go into heavens. We know, we learn, the Torah was given to human beings, and therefore we do the best we can. However, the Ramban, he says no. The mitzvah is not referring to Torah. Ki ha-mitzvah hazos is referring to the mitzvah of tshuva. And he says people get scared away. You know what, tshuva, I can't do tshuva. There's so many things I do wrong. There's many things I don't do right. And in fact, that's probably one of the biggest impediments to tshuva, is thinking it's too much for you. I don't have the ability to do it. That's what we learned off in the parasha of Eisha Shafas Toar. In that situation, under wartime, where people are distressed, then we make special dispensations for the soldier and this beautiful woman. But ordinarily, we assume a person is capable of withstanding all the different tests. In fact, that's what Rav Salvation explained the language Vidoy Meiser. We know Vida is usually Ashamnu, Bagadnu, or Alchei Shachatanu Panecha. So why do we use the word Vidoy? Because a lot of people think if you get down on yourself, I'm worthless, I'm useless, that's tshuva. That's Vidoy. So we see, no, Vidoy Meiser means I did everything I could do. The first step to tshuva, before you get into the details of how to do it, is you have to recognize you have the ability to do better. If you don't feel you can do better, then what kind of tshuva is that? Go to your therapist, because no one can help you. It has to start at home. And that's what the mitzvah zos, when the phrase is not far away, befichel v'vavcha la'asoso. In fact, the Divrei Yechezkel, one of the Hasidic Sfarim, I heard from my friend Rabbi Baruch Simon, one of the Rosh Yeshivas at Yeshiva University, he pointed out to me a Divrei Yechezkel that point out there's another famous pasuk we read all the time in Kriya Shema, B'chol Levavcha, with all our heart, Shnei Yitziros, B'chol Nafshecha, and we know from the Targum Unkelos, Nefesh, that the Nefesh Chaya, when a person speaks, that's the Nefesh, it's a human being, the ability to speak, and B'chol Mo'odecha, with all your money. So we say B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Levavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Mo'odecha. We say with your heart, and with your soul, and with your money. So it seems to be the opposite of what we're saying here. The pasuk says, Ki karav alecha adava miod. Miod is for Zechol Mo'odecha. Beficha, nefesh, that's a definition of a human, the ability to speak. And Levavcha, when your heart is at the end. So the Divrei Yechezkel is, why is it the reverse order? When it comes to Shema, we say first B'chol Levavcha. Why over here is Levavcha at the end? So the Divrei Yechezkel explains, because the pasuk in Kriya Shema is talking about someone who's already there. They're already a tzaddik, the Torah scholar, and they already have control of everything, and therefore then you can work B'chol Levavcha. You start off at the highest level, even his heart. His Yetar Yetzir Tov he has control of. But here we're talking about, according to the Ramban, the mitzvah of tshuva. And therefore we're talking about someone who's not quite there yet. Like many of us, we have room of improvement, things that we do the right, do things better, correct some of the mistakes we're making. And the one of the concerns is you don't want to scare someone away. So you start off, you start off with money. You can give tzedakah. You don't really change your life just by giving some money. Of course you have to have the money, but if you give money to tzedakah, that's an easy step. Then beficha, talk is cheap, we all know. You start talking, you're going to change. And then ultimately levavcha, and then with your heart. So therefore, it's a method, it's a derech in how to do tshuva. And therefore, when it comes to Kriya Shema, it's the opposite. One who's already there, so you work on different things. But when you're not there, that's where you have to take step by step, baby steps. In fact, that's where you point out the Gemara in Meruba, in Bava Kama. The Gemara talks about, we know there's halacha, if you want to be makdish something, if you want to give something to the temple, it has to be yours, and it has to be v'rishuso. It has to be in your possession, and you have to own it. If a person loses an object, so even though he didn't have yesh, he didn't give up on it, it's not, he can't bring it because it's not in his possession, and the Gazan can't bring it either because it might be in his possession, but he doesn't own it. So the Gemara says, Shneim eino yecholun lahakdish, because as long as you don't give up. So the Divrei Yechezkel points out that the danger is when you get the Yetzer Hara get the best of you, and you say, what's the point? I lost the object, I might as well just have yesh and give up on it. No, but as long as you don't have yesh, the Gazlan doesn't acquire, you don't lose it. A Jew is never supposed to have yesh. We never give, no matter how hard it seems, how far away we are, you never give up hope. In fact, the Kutzko is famous for saying, the halacha of yesh, if you give up hope, then someone else could acquire it. Why, if you yesh, someone else acquires it? It's an onish, it's a punishment, because a Jew should never have yesh. And that's why we know you have to start with the small things and work yourself up. That's why the Pshat, the Gemara tells us that it's halacha when you have guests, Kol Omer Baal Habayis, you listen to everything the Baal Habayis says, except if he tells you to leave. That's halacha, but in the Chasidish Svarim, they bring down the Shloah HaKodesh, that the Baal Habayis is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when he tells you to do everything you listen to, those are the mitzvahs aseh. Chutz mitzvah. If he tells you to get out of my house, I don't want you anymore, you don't listen. Because there's always room for tshuva, no matter how bad things are and how bleak they look. We never believe in giving up hope. You never have yesh. And in fact, that's why we say in the last mitzvah in the Torah, Atah kitzu lachem et hashira hazos. And now, so the Medrash Tanchuma, the Medrash Rabbi writes, Ein va'ata el tshuva. When it says the word ata, it's always in reference to tshuva. So why is ata kitzu lachem et hashira hazos before the mitzvah of writing Sefer Torah? Because the ikar of tshuva is simchas halev, is being besimcha, and therefore Torah is referred to as a shira. That as long as you learning in your besimcha, then you don't have to worry, even if you're not doing everything right. But when you become depressed and give up hope, that's the danger area. And in fact, even with the story with Elisha, who was told by the Baskol that there's no hope for you, that's it. There are different pshatim in the Midrashim that turn out we don't want you. Even in that case, you could always come back, because we have a principle that God is always looking. He's never turning anybody away. In fact, Rav Moshe's famous line, one of the things that destroyed many Jews in America was in Yiddish, I'll say it in English, it's hard to be a Jew. And so that saying made serving God, davening, learning, and avoda. But you say it's easy to be a Jew. Maybe it's not, well, obviously the different hardships that cost more money, but in terms of the attitude. And that's the pshat, that's the contrast that Divrei Yechezkel makes between the pasuk we say every day, V'chol avavcha, V'chol nafsha, V'chol modecha. The pasuk we say here, Kikara v'lecha dava miyod, B'fichol v'avcha l'aso. So when it comes to someone who's already a tzaddik, so then you're ready to work on your highest level, your heart, your nefesh, and then your money. But when it comes to someone who's just getting back a chozer b'tshuva, so then you begin with the easy things. Okay, it doesn't change my life, give some money. Then b'ficha, I'll start, trying to make resolutions. And ultimately, u'avavcha, and ultimately, I'll get it into my heart. And that's the yisod of the shofar, as we mentioned. The Rambam writes that even though shofar is the gzeras hakasuv, it's a biblical divine mandate. Nevertheless, it's a spiritual alarm clock where we hear the shofar. We have to wake up call. That it's not enough just to hear the shofar. We have to internalize the message, the zichron trua, and therefore become better people. As the Satmar Rebbe pointed out from the pasuk of Hashana Tashana in the book of Devarim, which is referring to Rosh Hashanah, that we all start off Hashana, the year that this is going to be a special year, and ends up Shana. We have to, work on ourselves, but one of the biggest impediments is I can't do it, it's too much for me, and that's the lesson of Kikarov Dav Meyod Beficha Vavcha La'asoso. You begin with the Meyodcha, and that's why it's Vidoy Maisa. The first step is you got to believe in yourself. Once you believe in yourself, then we could talk about tshuva.